The council hall on Outpost Vesper 9 was built for power. It was a place for deals, threats, and hard voices. No one shouted there, not if they wanted respect, and not if Norah Hale was in the room. Norah sat at the human table. She had a data pad in one hand and tea in the other. She looked calm, too calm. Across from her stood Trade Marshal Corvath was huge, heavy armor plates, wide shoulders, hot temper, his species. The Velkar were known for war, pride, and anger. Corvath slammed his fist on the table. The table shook. "You humans move into every trade lane," he shouted. "Call it order. You take control and act like it was always yours." Norah took one slow sip of tea. Then she set the cup down. "We did not take your lanes," she said. "Check them after your ship started losing relief cargo." The room went quiet. A few delegates looked at the Velkar aides. No one spoke. Corvath leaned forward. His voice got louder. "Choose your next words carefully, human." Norah looked right at him. "I already did."
Ow.
Now the room felt tight, like a storm was about to break. Corvath growled, "Do not test me. Your kind is young, soft, weak. You survive here only because stronger species allow it." He kept talking. Then he stopped. Something moved under Norah's chair. Two small shapes stepped out. Two cubs, small like house cats. But no one in the room thought they were. It's harmless. Their fur shimmered in the light. Their eyes were bright and sharp. They moved in silence. I sat in front of Norah. The others stayed standing. Both looked up at Corvath. Then both tilted their heads. The smaller cub spoke first. Its voice was soft, polite, cold.
"Mother Norah, should we remove the loud part?"
The room froze. The second cub spoke, the part making threat sounds. "We can do it fast." No one moved. No one breathed. A guard near the wall made a small choking sound. Corvath went still. For the first time, he looked afraid. An old observer whispered from the side, "Those are Nixari cubs." 3 delegates stood up at once. One nearly fell. Another started praying. Norah looked down at the cubs and sighed. "No," she said gently. "We do not remove anything." The smaller cub looked up at her. "But he is upsetting your heartbeat." "I am fine," Norah said. "He is angry. He is not attacking. There is a difference." The larger cub kept staring at Corvath. He leaned too close. Norah nodded once. "Yes, and now he will lean back." Corvath stepped back so fast, his chair scraped the floor. A few people finally breathed again. Norah reached down and scratched the small cub behind the neck. The cub leaned into her hand. That made the room even more nervous. Corvath swallowed. "You brought them into a council hall," he said. "I informed administration," Norah replied. The chamber clerk raised a shaking hand. She did. Every officer in the room knew the Nixari stories. They were phase hunters, fast, silent, deadly. Adults were terrifying. Their young were worse in one way. They imprinted deep, permanent. And these two had just called a human envoy mother. Norah folded her hands on the table. "Can we continue?" she asked. "Or do you need a recess?" Ambassador Quell spoke at once. "Recess. Now." No one argued. The room broke apart in quiet panic. Delegates grabbed tablets. Security opened all doors. One guard walked into a wall while avoiding the cubs. Norah stayed in her seat until the room cleared. Then she looked down at the cubs. "Was that needed?" The smaller cub blinked. He was loud. The larger cub added, "And angry at you." Norah gave a small smile. "He was angry at the talk, not me." The larger cub thought about that. His eyes were on you. "That is because I was speaking," Norah said. The smaller cub tilted its head again. "And speaking is dangerous." Norah laughed softly. Sometimes, a side door opened. Ambassador Quell came back in slowly. "Envoy Norah," Quell said. "May I come closer?" Norah nodded. "You are safe, Quell." Quell moved in carefully. The cubs were now inspecting Norah's tea. The smaller one sniffed it and sneezed. "Bitter," it said. "It is tea," Norah replied. "You always hate tea. It smells like plant regret." Quell made a strange wet sound. It was probably a laugh. Quell looked at Norah. Many delegates want to know if the cubs are under control. Both cubs looked at Quell. Quell froze. Norah put a hand on each cub. They are not weapons. They are children. The larger cub spoke without looking away from Cool. We are also Neeks. Norah nodded, double quotes, yes. And children. Quell's voice shook. That does not help. Norah's face softened. It did not help me at first either, she said. Then why did you volunteer? Quell asked. Norah looked at the cubs. The larger one pressed against her boot. The smaller one tried to open a biscuit tin from her bag. After the fracture storm on Dama's Rift, Norah said, their den was destroyed. Rescue teams found 3 cubs alive. Only 2 survived the trip. The council wanted a containment expert. Their mother wanted someone she trusted. Quell stared at her. Why you? Norah looked down at the cubs. Because when their mother entered the medical bay, everyone reached for a weapon. I sat on the floor. I stayed still. I did not look into her eyes. She walked up to me, put her cubs beside me, and left. Quell was silent. Norah gave a small, tired smile. She did not trust a stranger. She trusted a human. The smaller cub popped the biscuit tin open. Victory. Norah took it away before it could eat the wrapper. No. The side door opened again. Corvath stood there alone. No aides, no shouting. The cubs saw him and moved closer too. Norah, Corvath stopped at the door. He held out both hands with open palms. A peace sign. I request permission to enter, he said. Norah nodded. Come in. He stepped in slowly, carefully. He looked at Norah, then the cubs, then Norah again. When I was young, Corvath said, my father taught me that loud voices are the tool of weak leaders. Norah raised an eyebrow.
Good lesson.
Corvath lowered his head. I forgot it. The smaller cub whispered to the other cub. The loud one is repairing. Norah almost smiled. Corvath turned to Norah and bowed. It was a formal Velker bow, deep, serious. Envoy Norah Hale, he said. I spoke without respect. I let anger control me. I will not do it again. The chamber clerk looked shocked. Norah stood up. The cubs stood with her at once. She held out her hand. Corvath looked at it, then he took it carefully. Apology accepted, Norah said. I should not have pushed you. Corvath blinked. You admit that? Norah nodded. Good talks need honesty. Corvath made a low, rattling sound. Velker laughter. The smaller cub looked up at Norah. That loud sound is friendly?
Ow.
Mostly, Norah said. The larger cub studied Corvath. If he forgets again, may we remove only a little of the loud part, Kesh? Norah said. The cub lowered its ears. Asking is learning. Korvath laughed again, a little stronger this time. Your cubs are direct, he said. They are Nixari, Norah replied. And they are 6 months old. Corvath looked at her with new respect. Your species is not what we expected. Norah smiled. I hear that a lot. Corvath looked at her hands. No claws, no armor, no fangs. You humans do not look dangerous, he said. Norah smiled wider. This time she showed her teeth. No, she said. We usually do it with adoption. For the first time that day, Corvath looked amused. A chime sounded. Recess was over. Delegates came back in slowly. They saw Corvath standing calm near Norah. They relaxed a little. Ambassador Quell returned to the table. Security took their places again, a little farther from Norah than before. Norah sat down. The cubs settled at her feet. One curled over her boot. The other watched the room, still alert. Corvath sat across from her. When he spoke again, his voice was steady. Let us continue. Elcar Command accepts neutral audits on the relief lanes. We request joint oversight. Norah tapped her datapad. Agreed. And your escorts stop disabling civilian transponders. Corvath grimaced. You have proof. Norah slid a file across the table. I usually do. The talks resumed. Still hard, still tense. But now they were respectful. Each time Corvath started to raise his voice, 2 small heads turned toward him. Each time he lowered it again. Hours later, they had a deal. Shared patrols. New shipping rules. Repayment for missing aid cargo. A real agreement. As the hall emptied, Corvath stopped by Norah's table. The cubs looked up at him. He lowered himself into a crouch so he would not tower over them. "I was loud," he said. The smaller cub nodded. "Very loud." Corvath dipped his crest. "I will do better." The larger cub stepped closer and sniffed his armored wrist. Then it stepped back. "Acceptable," it said. Corvath looked at Norah. "Do they judge everyone?" "Yes," Norah said. "Every day." The smaller cub looked up at him. "Will you still be angry tomorrow?" Corvath thought for a moment. "Yes," he said. "Probably. But I can be angry without being cruel." Norah's face softened. "That is diplomacy." The cubs were quiet. The smaller one asked, "And if someone is cruel?" Norah picked up the smaller cub and held it against her shoulder. The larger cub pressed against her leg until she lifted that one too. Her voice was warm. "We use words first." The smaller cub pressed into her neck. "And if words fail?" Norah looked toward the chamber doors. Several delegates were still watching her. Careful, curious, respectful, Norah gave a small, sharp smile. "Then the galaxy remembers who humans make family." Corvath bowed his head once. No one on Outpost Vesperine shouted at Envoy, "Norah hail," again. Not because they feared the human, because they feared what loved her. Asterisk, asterisk, if you loved this one, subscribe to Neon Cub Tales right now. Tell me your favorite scene in the comments, leave a like, and share this story with a friend.